Hi, guys, welcome to another episode of the Late Night Drives podcast. In this week's episode, we have Rasesh Patel here to help discuss the action packed Austrian GP, which was the final race of the first triple header this year. Hi, Rasesh, welcome to this week's episode of the Late Night Drives podcast. Rasesh is a really old friend of mine. People call us twins, but I don't see it, and I don't think he does either. Uh, Case in point, he's been a Ferrari fan since I know him, and I can't stand Ferrari. The only reason I'm supporting them this year is because of Sainz and Leclerc. But yeah, hi, welcome to this week's episode, Rasesh.
Hi Prashast, how's it going?
Good man, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah,
The race
so
was interesting.
race was really interesting. I thought the build up to the race was almost as interesting, right? I just wanted to spend a few moments talking about like practice and qualifying. Norris had an unbelievable qualifying,
Yes, he
starting
has.
third. He's in great form. Yeah, I mean, him matching up to like the Mercs was really unexpected to me, at least.
He's been looking good on the McLaren lately. Even the previous 2-3 Grand Prix, if you look at what he's been doing during practice, it's been impressive considering it's a McLaren right now. It's been very surprising, especially when you see somebody as experienced like Ricciardo really struggling in that car.
Yeah.
I feel like Norris has done a really fantastic job at his age.
Yeah, to some extent, it's almost as if he's not overdriving, but he's pulling more from the car than it's expected from him, right?
I think it's my old conversation with you, the difference between a racer and a driver,
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is, right? Yeah. Where he has that mental strength or whatever you call it to get everything out of a car, even if it doesn't suit him,
Absolutely.
These guys like Norris, Hamilton, Verstappen, Alonso, I think these are the guys who you are talking about, right? When you say racers.
Correct, absolutely. Yeah, the racers compared to the good drivers.
Yeah. So anyway, I think he was a key talking point. Qualifying P2 was unbelievable for him. Sergio Perez was another surprising qualifier in the top three. I thought he would struggle a little more in comparison to like Bottas at least and Hamilton too, especially after the practices. But he seemed to have pulled out a good qualifying result and set up his car to his liking.
Yeah, it seems like Sergio Perez finally is finding his feet in the car. Like this season, it's been a bit of a struggle, even though there were massive expectations. So I think watching him really come back into the car, the last 3 Grand Prix, he's shown a real strong performance again.
Yeah.
So it's good to see Perez back. He's one of my favorite drivers in the sense that he doesn't come from the money that we've been so often speaking about in F1 now. So it's good to see Sergio Perez back in action in a good car, showing some performance that actually value that car when you see Verstappen doing the way he is in the same thing.
Yeah. And of course, the other big talking point from qualifying to me was George Russell. Getting a Williams on medium tires, absolutely on merit, out qualifying the Ferraris and, getting into Q3, that was unbelievable.
Why do you have to remind me where the Ferraris have qualified, man?
Hey, I'll come to the Ferraris when we discuss the race. Okay, I think that was a master plan of theirs, which really worked out.
Even I think so.
Yeah. So, I think Russell is again one of those guys who is just outperforming the car.
Absolutely, I think George Russell, the fact that he's even moved out of Q3 every single one, I think of the season races is massive. I think one race
moved out of Q1. You mean?
Yeah, sorry, moved out of Q1.
Yeah.
To Q2.
Yeah, he's got into Q2 in every single race so far. Yeah. This was his first Q3 appearance, but he's called Mr. Saturday for a reason.
I really hope to see him in a better car next season, honestly.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Anyway, rumors are hugely surrounding him and Bottas. Supposedly, they're going to be swapping seats. And to be honest, it seemed like this weekend, there was a calmness and a confidence to George Russell, which sort of indicated to me that, his contract talks are done and they're just going to be waiting to announce it whenever they do. Do you think he's actually going to move to Mercedes?
if he does, that would be a really interesting lineup. I keep saying he shouldn't be moving right now because I think it's going to create a negative energy, especially with the number of changes Mercedes has undergone in the back room. So I don't my honest opinion is it's going to create a lot of friction because George Russell doesn't seem Valtteri Bottas doesn't seem like the good driver. He seems like a racer, and two racers in a team, little bit
I
of
don't
a
know.
difficult.
I can see that, but I think I think he deserves it, and I really hope he moves into that spot. Yes, it might end up being like a Hamilton Alonso type situation when they were at
Yeah,
McLaren Mercedes.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but who knows? Like it might be like the best thing that Hamilton. It's the best thing for Hamilton as well, right? Somebody pushing him in the same team, same equipment.
What's going to happen when it comes to team orders for Toto?
Who knows? It's going to be it's going to be a Rosberg Hamilton situation again. They're going to be free to
Yeah,
race, and I hope we see that, man. I really hope we see that.
I
But
mean, I don't want to take anything away from Bottas, but he's not been showing the performance lately. I feel like there's a sense of I think underwhelming performances that has just taken away his confidence. I feel.
yeah, I completely agree, and I think it comes down to that good drivers versus racers thing. I feel like Bottas is a good driver, but I don't know. He just doesn't seem to have that pace or drive in him to like really match up to his teammate. So yeah, I personally feel like this is pretty much a done deal, but let's just wait and see.
Yeah, we'll
Uh,
have to watch.
yeah, yeah. All right, coming down to the race, started off with somewhat of a bang, I suppose, and the first lap safety car, Ocon getting out in the first lap itself.
Yeah,
Ocon's had a terrible weekend. I think both weekends in Austria really
really bad.
yeah, things are just not going well for him, and he missed out on getting out of Q1 as well in qualifying, and that first lap was just completely unlucky. Huh? This is completely unlucky.
I'm not too sure if you'd call it unlucky, but very blatant mistakes happening down the track. I feel to begin with.
I don't know. I would still say that it's down to a racing incident, but I don't know if there was anybody's mistake. But maybe he shouldn't have been in that position, like being sandwiched from both sides. But it's the
Yeah.
first laps; these things happen. Speaking of first lap incidents, after the safety car restart, that move that Perez pulled on Norris, you think
Right.
Norris deserved a penalty?
No, I don't think so. Not at all. I think Norris was in the right all the way. I think Perez deserved the penalty. Honestly, if you look at the whole of the race yesterday, I think that mistake seemed to bite everybody.
Yeah, what was the FIA thinking by penalizing Perez? Like you said, it came to like bite them in the ass because they had to then penalize Perez himself for doing
Yeah,
the same thing on Charles twice, right?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I really don't know what they were doing, man. Yesterday,
One of the things on the track, what I noticed, I was actually discussing it with somebody during the Styrian Grand Prix. I felt like the runoff area should be a little more when you're going into high speed corner like that to avoid the whole mess up that was happening and going off into the gravel. I feel like a little more spacing in the curb.
dude. So that's a whole other debate because I mean, I'm in the camp that says that gravel immediately after the track is brilliant because then it keeps every single driver honest, right? You don't have
Right.
to like implement track limits and stuff during qualifying. So, particularly if you have gravel, because then the drivers made a mistake. There's no advantage to be gained. So, I'm in that camp which says the gravel is brilliant, but
Right.
yeah, there are people like you who say that, perhaps a larger runoff may be making the racing more interesting at least. But
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at it when you're going in at what, 3 Gs on that turn, two and a half,
yeah,
3 Gs onto the
yeah,
turn, you probably are going to slide, especially with everybody's had to restrict themselves in understanding their cars. There's no updates to the cars itself lately, in terms of everybody just frozen most of their developments.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like maybe a higher curb, something to just keep the car there for a little longer would be helpful instead of the corner gravels, which like I think slow down everybody's race after that.
I don't know, man. Like Paul Ricard has done that. There are no gravel traps there,
Yeah.
and that race was that track is like really. I can't stand it as a track, to be really frank. So I don't know. Like I said, there's a huge debate. Like there are people on both camps. I see the advantages of what you're saying, but I just feel like it shows true skill to keep it and then in between the two white lines. You have to like
Right.
keep the car no matter what in between the two white lines, and then
Yeah,
it's a
usually I would say
playing
that.
field. It's an even playing field for everybody, but. Anyway, I don't think there's a one right or wrong answer.
Yeah, there honestly isn't.
Yeah.
But like, see, I like I don't remember which turn honestly, but they've got the curve where yesterday Hamilton ended up damaging his underbody.
Yeah, the
So I
sausage
think like,
curb on I think
yeah,
turn 3. Yeah.
so things like that I feel like
Turn
should
1,
be there
sorry.
as spaces.
Yeah.
Turn one.
Yeah, I think it was
Is
turn
that turn
1.
one?
Turn 1, which
I'm
has the
yeah.
sausage curb. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think things like that help, like in terms of keeping the drivers in line, because like if you notice yesterday, like that one mistake from Hamilton really cost him his race yesterday. So something like that I feel is better than the gravel, because the gravel then affects the drivers at the back, which is what I'm against, honestly. Like I remember that one incident where Leclerc was really closing in on the finish line, on the start finish straight, and that little mud in his face, I feel like threw
From
him even
Ricciardo,
more
right?
from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have. And you never know. Ricciardo might have just been like dipping into the sand just to like mess with it.
Yeah.
But good race for Ricciardo, after qualifying P13, seems to be more comfortable in the McLaren during the race.
I feel like it's the McLaren setup that's given them the advantage the last two GPs. So we're going to see if he's actually settled in only in the next race, I feel. Because you're going to see a lot more. Like, I don't think the downforce is going to play such a major role at Silverstone.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're going to see the Renault struggling a little bit again.
Yeah. Alpines.
Oh, sorry, Renault's, I'm saying McLaren.
McLaren's, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he still doesn't seem to have like the 1 lap pace that Lando Norris does. I mean, in qualifying, he was half a second down, right? But yeah, I thought this was actually finally a decent race from him. Making some moves and ending up finishing I think P7 after Sergio Perez's penalty. So let's come to the Ferraris. Good strategy, worked out well for them. It was a bit of a shock to everybody that they didn't make Q3, but good race for them. Worked out well like last race, like the Styrian Grand Prix as well. They mixed strategies this time around, with Sainz starting on hard and Leclerc starting on the medium. And Sainz, man, he drove 52 laps without pitting. Again, he just like brilliantly managed his tires.
Yeah, Carlos Sainz seems to have really settled into the Ferrari. So I'm looking forward to this combination, because it looks really competitive after a very long time. Total change from Ferrari's strategy for what, like I've been following them for 15 years, I think. And I honestly feel like they've been finally, the young driver lineup seems to be paying off for them in some sense, because they've really gone backwards in the last 2-3 seasons for sure.
Yeah, they seem to have made a good step this year with their car, and yeah, they're definitely more competitive. And their battle with McLaren for third place in the constructors seems like it's going to just go down to the last race. I hope it does. Makes it interesting for everybody else.
Not for me. I would rather have it packed and wrapped a little earlier.
No, it makes it interesting for everybody else, man. Come on. But yeah, unfortunate race for Russell again. He moved down to P13 by the first lap. Yeah, I think he perhaps struggled a little more than last race with his tires during the race. I thought him fighting with Alonso for the last P10, that was a good battle.
That was a nice, good battle. Honestly, like it was great to see George Russell really putting all of his out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Alonso found his spot, I guess.
I mean, it was bound to happen, right? Alonso was in a faster car, and of course, it's Alonso, so he's going to do whatever he can to get past. Um, I think the only couple of things that I wanted to sort of touch on was Mercedes actually swapped Bottas and Hamilton. They let Bottas race, and that was quite surprising.
They didn't
think
really
good
have a
call?
choice. Of course, good call. They wouldn't have finished where they did, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, from the constructor's point of view, it made sense completely for them to do
yeah.
that.
They knew, like, see, the minute that sausage curb that you were saying, the minute Hamilton went over that, it was a done race for him. And I
Yeah.
think it just like, it's not like they wanted them to race, but it's like they didn't really have a choice but to get Bottas ahead. Otherwise, they would have lost that few constructors' points as well.
I think what also surprised a lot of people was the way Norris actually kept Hamilton back. I mean, he held him up for almost, I think, 20 laps, 21 laps.
With that, I feel it's again, like I was telling you a little earlier, I think it's the fact of where we're going to see the two McLarens come back in. I feel like the last two Grand Prix have suited their car setup a lot more than anybody else for advantages. And when you look at, I think the Mercedes, you're really seeing the struggle with them not having the DAS system right now.
Yeah.
They've been like, it's been a change in terms of, because they are not able to get their tires working under the right temperatures. They're having a few downforce issues, which was all corrected with the DAS essentially last season.
Yeah, the dual axis steering, right? Yeah, that really helped them. I'm sure they're feeling the effects of that. Anyway, moving on, right? Do you think the pressure of the second seat at Red Bull is sort of getting to Perez? You know, he seemed like he was almost driving angry, you know, after like the first couple of laps and that the restart incident with Norris and the way he tried to block and, you know, kick Charles off the track. Do you think he was like driving angry? Or we've seen this side of Perez before last year.
Yeah, so usually Perez has, I mean, in his history, been a very aggressive driver. So I feel like that is always going to play a part in terms of experience not being sufficiently there for Perez. He makes these really amateurish mistakes sometimes, I feel. But overall, I think it's more to do with the Red Bull pressure that might be getting the better of him right now, specifically because of, if Verstappen was still doing second and third and fighting to be in first, but not actually finishing on pole, like even with the, like, I mean, what, 10, what I was hearing from the commentators, I think 10 poles is what they've got, Red Bull have gotten since 2014.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah.
Yesterday was the 10th pole, if I'm not wrong. So it's really, I think, getting the pressure, because I feel like they can actually be constructors champions. So I think a lot of that pressure seems to be falling on Chico right now. Honestly, I feel he will get better as the season continues. I think better performance judgment would be post the winter break that is going to come along.
The summer break. Yeah, that should. I hope you're right. I mean, I hope he really comes back and like finds his form with the car, and you know.
You saw it with Bottas last season after the break.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see something similar from Chico after this break, right?
Yeah, Norris lost out in the pits, I think, with his 5-second penalty. Otherwise, I think he was a shoo-in for second place. Which again was like, FIA, what the hell? Stewards, what the hell were you thinking of? And he's like,
yeah, I totally don't agree with the penalties. Okay, Mazepin is fine. That's basically the procedure anyways. But I feel like the racing incident should have been left as racing incidents.
Yeah, and even Tsunoda's penalties, I understand. Like, you know, he tried, like, he wasn't like within the white lines to enter the pits. And so I understand those. But yeah, some of the penalties they handed out, you know, even after the race, they handed out penalties too. I think it was Giovinazzi and Latifi for failing to slow enough for double yellows after the Raikkonen Vettel incident. But they investigated. I think they investigated Sainz, Ricciardo, Perez, everybody for not slowing down enough. And they only found these two drivers who didn't slow down enough. Of course, it didn't affect their race result at the end of the day because they just got like a time penalty. But the decision to do that just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like if there are like incidents where they are going into dangerous driving situations where they're not slowing down for yellow flags or something, I feel like when it's not really going to make any relevance to the race, that they should be just reprimanded. I don't even know how to pronounce that word. What's the
Yeah,
word?
reprimanded. Yeah.
Yeah, reprimanded,
Yeah.
and it should just be done at the back end in terms of like maybe some license points, something like that, and
Yeah.
be done with it.
Yeah.
I honestly do not think that it makes for better viewership or that control helps for anything that happened in the race, honestly.
Mm.
Yeah, okay, it's done. Nothing happened. I think they should go back, discuss it with the drivers during the driver briefing and be like,
Yeah.
this is not acceptable. Like, you know what they did for Verstappen after last race's slow down at the start finish line?
Yeah. And
The
him doing
FI
the
was not happy.
burnout, right? Yeah. Yeah. They weren't happy
Yeah.
with that at all.
So I
Yeah, it
feel
makes
like
complete sense.
it's when you look at the FI recently in terms of rulings, I feel it's this conversation about the penalties handed out yesterday remind me of the slowing down of the pit stop. I honestly don't get it.
Yeah. Very quickly, I wanted to get through who do you think had a good strategy and bad strategies like this race? I feel like to kick things off, Ferrari had a brilliant strategy. I think it was a strategic move to give up qualifying in Q2, give up in quotation marks, like be okay not getting into Q3 because they
Right.
just knew they had the race pits.
Yeah, I think Ferrari had a brilliant strategy when it came to Sainz yesterday. I feel like that maybe they could have done a little more for Leclerc in the sense that I feel like he trailed behind the cars, which damaged his race a lot. They should have probably brought him into some open air for a bit.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? That's one of the things that didn't work out. Even for like the people who started on soft tires, right? I think mainly it was AlphaTauri and Aston Martin. Both their all four drivers started on soft tires, and I think that strategy didn't really work out in the race because there was nowhere
Not at
for
all.
them to come out after the pit stops, and invariably they were in traffic, and the moves weren't very easy to make even on fresher tires. Like Gasly was, I mean, he still finished out of the points, and yeah, sure, he had. Sorry, Gasly finished in the points. What am I saying?
He
He finished
finished
ninth.
ninth.
Yeah, but he was saying he needed another couple of laps to like try and even make a move on Charles Leclerc. So I think the soft tire starters really like lost out a little bit.
Absolutely struggled yesterday. I think that was a really bad strategy call from the teams.
Yeah.
The soft tires just didn't seem to work, and I mean, they didn't find the correct spaces on the track to get back out. So I think they ended up damaging their second stint also.
Yeah, so I think these
But
were key in terms of
oh,
like in my opinion,
yeah,
it's the good and bad strategies.
I honestly was expecting a lot more from Gasly yesterday. I felt like they would have, but I feel like his team let him down in terms of strategy. Otherwise, I feel like maybe they should have done a little better in terms of an early pit stop, try and undercut. Something needed to be done. Then, like the pit stop window opened and you saw all the soft tire guys just come in one after the other.
Yeah, the undercut
Almost like,
worked for Perez. I mean, he pitted
yeah, it
before
did.
Leclerc and he came out in front of him. So
Exactly.
maybe they should have tried something like that. But I have a feeling they had no choice but to like make these guys qualify on soft tires. I don't think they would have gotten to Q3 otherwise. Like, not all of them at least. Like perhaps Gasly
Yeah,
might have had the pace, but Tsunoda and the two Astons might have struggled against the Ferraris on the medium tires.
that's true. But in the long term, I mean, when you see it at the end of the post race result, it really made no difference. No
Yeah,
advantage going back into that. I mean, they would have
hindsight, right?
actually finished a little better, right?
Yeah, hindsight.
Especially with like the pace Alonso was showing, I would have probably said he would have finished maybe a seventh had they just,
Alonso
stuck
was
to.
unlucky, man. Alonso, even in qualifying, was unlucky. Vettel coming
Oh
in,
yeah,
like impeding him. That was like a unfortunate incident, which I can't really blame Vettel for because where was he gonna go?
there was nowhere to go. Honestly, yeah,
Yeah,
I remember seeing that and I'm like, oh damn, Alonso just missed
yeah,
that one out
yeah.
completely.
Otherwise, I think he would have qualified like at least in the top five. It seemed like he had the pace to do so.
Yeah.
He was on a flyer of a lamb. But yeah, looking forward to the next race at Silverstone. What do you think? What are your predictions? What do you think is going to happen?
For Silverstone, honestly, I'm not too sure. I'm expecting like there's going to be some race pace from the McLarens, I feel. But in terms of podium finishers, I would still stick my guns to the Mercedes for Silverstone.
Okay.
They've just been too good on that track for quite a few seasons now, I think.
Yeah, I think I'll have to agree with you there. And I think Bottas mentioned in the press conference, post-race press conference, that they have some updates also scheduled for Silverstone. So I definitely agree with you. I see them being really strong there. So yeah, I'm gonna say it's gonna be Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas is what the top three is what I think it's gonna be.
Yeah, I would not expect the finish order to be anything else, honestly.
Yeah.
And I've been like, I have a lot of friends who've recently gone and like become F1 fans,
Okay.
been following it a lot, and everybody suddenly is very interested and thinks that Verstappen's the new world champion already. I honestly don't buy into that idea at all.
Man,
With the experience in the space.
yeah, I don't think you can at this stage at least rule out Mercedes. To be
Too
fair,
premature.
yeah, historically, this has been Hamilton's. Well, I think before this weekend, it was still Hamilton's best start to a season, and Hamilton's tends to be stronger in the second half of the season compared to the
Yeah.
first. So there are 23 races. This is only round 8. We're not even halfway there. It's way too premature to write it off as Red Bull's championship or Verstappen's
Yeah,
championship.
absolutely. Like, I don't see how you can I mean, it's different like writing off a Williams probably for the season, but that's not what you're doing for a Mercedes. I mean,
Yeah.
I historically have never been a Mercedes fan, but you have to appreciate what Toto Wolff and Hamilton have done for that team. Like,
Absolutely, and hopefully, this season ends up being as competitive, man, till the 23rd race, and yeah, I mean, I hope it goes down to the wire. It's going to be fun.
yeah, I'm honestly hoping like this season goes down. I think if I'm not wrong, it was the 2014 season. Last race is when Barca lost out. 2000, I don't remember the year, but the last race, last finish, Hamilton I think finished like one position higher with some rule changes. What was that?
2008, man, 2008.
2008. Oh, not 14. Okay, 14 was Red Bull.
Yeah,
8.
yeah, 2008.
That was
It was 1 year
one position,
after,
right?
by one position. It was Hamilton's first championship, right? Win.
Right.
And it was 1 year after Raikkonen won with Ferrari.
Ferrari, the 2000, right. So yeah, I'm hoping that the season goes down to the wire, but I mean, being an F1 fan, I think I would like to, as much as it would be interesting to see a Verstappen world champion, I feel like Hamilton's there and should be getting that one more in the bag. I honestly don't see it going any other way.
Yeah.
As much as everybody would like and hope for a difference because it's going to be more interesting, I'm still I mean, all respect where it needs to be handed when it comes to Hamilton, I'm guessing.
All right, looking forward to that. Thanks a lot for joining us this week, Rasesh.
I'm happy to be here. Like, honestly, this is fun. I feel like we should do it while the race is going on next time.
Oh, let's try and do that. I haven't had the guts to try a live broadcast yet, but sure, why not?
Let's try one out, Prashant. It'll be fun.
For sure. Thanks a lot, dude. Thanks. So thanks for tuning into this week's episode, guys. As usual, please follow us on our social media channels to keep updated. It's Late Night Drives Podcast on Instagram. That's L8 Night Drives Podcast on Instagram, and Late Night Drives on Twitter. That's L8 Night Drives on Twitter. Cheers. Have a good night.